Hey LEGO fans, Gotham is calling because Blocks magazine is celebrating 20 years of LEGO Batman in our brand new issue, and I'm super excited to be talking you through some of the highlights here. LEGO Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight is the latest video game from TT Games that's launching very soon. It's going to be big, it's going to be expansive. I cannot wait to play the whole thing, especially after writing this interview up with Charles McNair. Charles is in charge of models at TT Games. He's in charge of the way that bricks are represented, how all of the Lego elements come to be part of Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. And he gets into some fantastic geeky detail with us in this interview. He talks about the fact that now these games, since the Skywalker saga and into Legacy of the Dark Knight, are presented from a minifigure's point of view. So the bricks need to be more detailed, everything needs to be more intricate than ever before. And I was amazed at just some of the things these guys think about when they're crafting this world. It's not just about the Lego models themselves and how they're presented in the game, but it's also how they embed Lego bricks and a Lego design way of thinking into other assets within the game that aren't built from Lego bricks. And as some of the images on this spread that we're sharing here illustrate, you can see this behind the scenes thinking that they do, how they imbue the Lego DNA into all of these different visual assets within the game. If you're excited about Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight, or if you just love different types of Lego design, this interview is going to fascinate you. And the illustrations that we've got to show some of the behind the scenes stuff within it are really, really intriguing. But of course, a lot of us love Lego Batman so much because of playing the original Lego Batman video games. So we look back to Lego Batman the video game, Lego Batman DC Superheroes, and so on. We go back to these classic titles and remember what made them so special, how they moved forward what Lego video games could be, some of the fun details and fun memories we have of them. It's a really fun romp through the history of Lego Batman video games and how they've led up to Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. But this collaboration between the LEGO Group and DC Comics did not start with video games. It started with models in 2006. And the LEGO Batcave was the one that everyone wanted. This was the most exciting blockbuster set in the new theme. And it was the one that you drooled over at the LEGO store. Now, at the time, other toy manufacturers had done Batcaves, but this was entirely new for the LEGO Group. So we speak to designer Bjarke Lykke Madsen about how he crafted this particular Batcave, but then he went on to make 4 other Batcaves after this. He literally has worked on Batcaves as recently as the Batman Returns Shadow Box. So we talked to him about the evolution of these models through the years, how the way of thinking changed, how it's different to design a Batcave that's an original Lego interpretation versus one that has to faithfully recreate a movie design. And he is always interesting. He's always got insights. He's got a great memory for this stuff, thankfully. So we have a really interesting interview feature here where we're looking back at all of the different Lego Batcaves and how they have evolved over time. But it's not all Batman because, you know, Batman's great, Batman's fascinating, and those interviews will provide you lots of insights, even if Batman's not your favorite theme. But of course, we want to see what amazing creations fans are coming up with. And these big aeroplanes that Jack Carleson has created are phenomenal. Anyone who has built bigger models will know about the stability issues that you run into. So it's really interesting getting his take on how he approaches these absolutely mammoth, massive, ridiculous airplanes. And the great thing about this feature is we then share some of the techniques that Jack's used within these models. So you can perhaps incorporate them into your own creations that you're building in your Lego room. And then just to highlight the variety of content that we've got in this issue of the magazine, here's the content spread, and go over to blocksmag.com if you want to get more detail on the different features, reviews, interviews, builds, and so on that we've got in this particular edition of the magazine. And one of those features is the Battle of the Bricks. So there was a competitor back in the 60s and 70s called Montini that was seeking to become the world's dominant construction toy manufacturer. And it was the LEGO Group versus Montini who was going to win, whose products were going to be the ones that took over the world. Well, we all know how the story ends, but the story is still fascinating. And you can see some of the challenges that the LEGO Group faced in the early years. Yeah, you'll really love this one if you like LEGO history. And speaking of LEGO history, we're going back to 1995 in the retro section to pick out some of the highlights from that year. And we've got other great retro content in the back of the magazine too, because we always like looking back at yesteryear and remembering some of the fabulous things that have gone on in the Lego ecosystem over time. You may know that the LEGO Group is undergoing a massive expansion at the moment, with new factories opening up all around the world and expansions to existing factories. But what you might not know is that back in the 1970s, this whole kind of cycle kicked off for the first time. The LEGO Group opened a factory outside Denmark in Switzerland, and that was the first ever international factory for the company. And then they went on to open more factories in the USA, Brazil, South Korea. And this feature tells you all about how those factories came to be, and then what some of the challenges were during that period of very rapid expansion. We've also got our review section that we know everyone likes to read in order to get a vibe for the latest sets and decide which ones they will or won't pick up. Now, we'd hoped to have these a little bit sooner, but we finally have our Star Wars Smart Play reviews in this issue. We had a couple in issue 138, but the rest of them are in issue 139. And I think people who have been waiting to hear us give a take on Smart Play will really enjoy these. Some of the sets are better than others, but I think it's safe to say that it's a mixed bag with Smart Play. We're not entirely convinced how much value it's adding to some of these sets, but you can read these reviews to get our full deep dive opinion on what Smart Play is bringing to the table. And that's your taster. That's just a little sample of what's in Blocks Magazine, issue 139. I'm super proud of how this one's turned out. I think it's a really solid edition of Blocks. And obviously, for fans of LEGO Batman, it's a particular treat because 20 years is a long time for the LEGO Group to be associated with a particular character or franchise. And I think we can all agree that LEGO Batman has been a really important one. The video game is going to be massive. It's really exciting when there's a big blockbuster event on the LEGO calendar like this. So we're really pleased to be celebrating it in a big, meaningful way. And go on over to blocksmag.com to get a copy of this magazine, or even better, to take out a great value subscription package, and we'll send the magazine straight to your door every single month. 116 pages of original, exclusive LEGO content that you cannot find online. And if Star Wars is more your thing, then don't forget to check out our Star Wars Special Edition magazine that's available now.